Welcome back to My Unpopular Opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel as well as turning your post notifications on. So I wanted to get on here and briefly speak about Kandi Burruss. And in my personal opinion, which, this is my unpopular opinion, so I know a lot of my opinions will be unpopular and unfavorable. That's fine. That's what I created the channel for. But in my personal opinion, I think that Kandi Burruss used Tamika Scott as a weapon against Latasha Scott to pretty much end her. I think that Kandi is showing that because the show has been far removed. The show's over. People stopped talking about the situation. And here Kandi is, again, being vindictive, bringing it back up again so that Tasha can get hammered down on even more. The situation's long gone, and tonight on Kandi's YouTube channel, Speak On It, she's going to be having Tamika Scott, and there's an episode where they're going to be talking about Xscape again, talking about Latasha again, trying to get Tamika to have this sob story again, and vindicate Kandi as far as, oh, see y'all, even her own sister Tamika is saying that Tasha's bad, so it wasn't me. Kandi is hell-bent on trying to vilify Latasha. And in my opinion, that's what that whole show was about. It was a setup to make Latasha look bad. Now, I know a lot of people are already going to tune in and say, it's not Kandi's fault. You Kandi fans sometimes are so wrapped up in all the success and good things that she does that you guys excuse the bad things that she does. For one, Kandi Burruss is extremely competitive, and she feels like she always has to have the number one spot in everything she does. Anytime there is a woman around that is more talented, more beautiful, more this, more that, I feel like if they don't have a good relationship with Kandi or don't kiss her butt, she feels like she has to tear them down, in my personal opinion, which, like I said, may be unpopular. I don't know. I feel like she's done this numerous times and people just continue to ignore it. I feel like the only time she's okay with women around her is if they praise her, like how Kenya Moore, praises her for being successful, praises her for getting money and this and that. I feel like that's the only time Kandi is okay with you. Now, we know in Xscape, Latasha, whether y'all want to believe this mess or not, because I know lately people have been trying to talk about her voice after this whole smear campaign that Kandi, Mona Scott, and Tamika Scott has done against her. But let's be very clear. Latasha is the best singer in Xscape. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care if y'all talk about her runs. I don't care if y'all, first of all, if anybody who knows anything about music and singing knows that Tasha has agility in her voice, which is something a lot of singers don't have. So her being able to do all those riffs and runs and run up and down the scale, that actually is a major flex because, like I said, agility is something that she has an abundance of in her voice. She also has range, okay? She has a lot of power in her voice, and her voice stands out the most in Xscape, whether y'all want to believe it or not. I think that's one reason that Kandi resents her and has always resented her, is because she does have the best singing voice. But I also think Latasha is the oldest in the group, and Latasha, being the oldest and kind of like being the lead singer of the group for so long, you are going to end up, bossing around. And I think the girls have resentment towards Tasha for being bossy back in the day. But if the oldest or whoever doesn't take charge in the group, it won't be any order. Somebody has to take charge. And I think sometimes the person who ends up taking charge ends up getting blamed for everything. It's kind of like when you have an older sibling who's like super bossy or something, or your parents, and you eventually end up resenting them for being bossy. Even if they've helped you throughout your life, you resent them for bossing you around. And I think that's one issue that the girls have with Tasha, is that she was the oldest and she was bossy. But I feel like this goes to a deeper issue with Kandi. Back to that topic. I feel like Kandi decided when she was going to do this show, first of all, Kandi has been doing reality TV for many years at this point. We all know and have seen her on Bravo for a very long time at this point. So she is a professional at reality TV. She knows the ins and outs of it. The other girls, not so much. Tiny did have experience with reality TV, but the other women didn't, like Tasha and Tamika. I think that, in my personal and unpopular opinion, I think Kandi decided with Mona Scott and Tamika that they were going to show Tasha, quote unquote, in her true form, right? I think because the previous show they did, Kandi was upset that some people were siding with Tasha and saying that, oh, Kandi wants control. Kandi wants to control everything, which she does have a control issue. And I think Kandi didn't like the fact that people were placing some blame on her. So I think coming into this new show, she was going to make sure at all costs that Tasha was going to be portrayed in her quote unquote true light. Now, granted, I don't think Tasha is perfect. I don't think anyone is perfect. I think that, Tasha is getting blamed for having a quote unquote bad relationship and this, that, and the third. But everything she's getting blamed for is stuff that people are alleging her husband did and that she didn't. If Tamika's running around town saying that, oh, her husband controls her, she's a victim, she's a sinner. So if her husband is manipulating her according to Tamika and other people, why is Tasha being blamed for being a victim in her marriage or for sticking around in a marriage with a man who supported her? I don't see why she gets so much flack for that, but whatever. Now, as far as the money being stolen, according to Kandi and Tamika and things like that, I don't know about that situation. What I will say is the situation is between Tamika and Latasha and Tasha's husband, not Kandi. It seems like Kandi was the one who wanted this to be exposed. Okay, so let me go ahead and break down even further. I feel like Kandi knew she could manipulate Tamika because the last time when the group broke up, before they came back together, when the group broke up and then Tamika went on the radio and said that Kandi allegedly was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri and his father and things like that. I think obviously Kandi went on after the group broke up to still do reality TV and to still write songs and stuff like that, kind of hustling and still getting some money. And I think Latasha and Tamika, like they spoke about on the first Xscape show, they said that they didn't really get to make as much money and things like that after the group broke up. So coming back together this time around, I think Tamika felt like, I want to go where the money's at. She knows that Kandi has connections and a reputation for being a businesswoman. And I think she felt like, this time around, I'm not choosing Tasha. I'm going to choose Kandi because I want to make the money. And last time they admitted they didn't make money when they separated. So this time around, I think Kandi has played on that. And that's why after befriending Kandi again and being more loyal to her, and this time Tamika's getting more exposure on Speak On It. She was on Watch What Happens Lives a few times. Like, she's getting all these different opportunities that Kandi's helping her out with. I wonder why. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Oh, how can Kandi make Tamika do anything that she doesn't want to do? And you know what? You're right. She cannot make anyone do something they don't want to do. She cannot make Tamika do anything that she doesn't want her to do. The sad part about it is I believe that Tamika also wanted to expose Latasha. Tamika already had resentment towards Tasha and she wanted to do this as well. And I think it was easy for Kandi to get her to do it, to speak about the situation. All Kandi had to do was give her a nudge and say, Tamika, stop defending Tasha. You know that was wrong with what they did. Go ahead on the show. Talk about it, Tamika. Don't hide your truth. All she had to do was give her that nudge. And Tamika already wanted to do it. And now I think Tamika wanted to do it already because I think she's been harboring resentments towards Tasha since they were younger. It's very clear that the mother appears to favor Tasha, according to a lot of the fans and comments around the show. And what I think that comes from is a situation of, as we know, Latasha was the good child. Latasha was the one who was going to church, singing, not sleeping around, like being a good little teenager. And Tamika was the one, as we know, Tamika got pregnant. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, if you're a parent and you got two children, one is doing good and not doing any of the stuff that you don't want your kids to do, and then the other one is getting pregnant. Like Tamika got pregnant as a teenager. Tamika got kicked out of the school that she met Kandi at, and then met Tiny at a completely different school because she was kicked out of the first school, right? So it's very clear as day. They talk about Tamika being fast and Tamika being a problematic child, which a lot of us have had issues as teenagers. But because when your one child is being bad and the other one is appearing to be doing good like you want them to, which it would be Tasha in this case, it will seem like the parents favored the good child. But in reality, I think Tamika was just problematic. And I think now in her adulthood, since she's grown out of that, it's like the problematic child eventually wants to show everybody, see, I'm a good person. I'm not problematic. The real problem is Tasha. That's what I get from it. And I know because I have dealt with something very similar. And it's like when you have siblings that were bad, when you get older, they try to paint you as a bad person or make it seem like, you know, they desperately want to see other people see you in a negative light because they feel like your parents or whomever growing up always thought you were perfect. But in reality, I think Tamika just needs to take responsibility for her past, and I think she needs to take responsibility for being problematic. I don't think the mother favors either of them. Like I said, I think Tamika is just a dramatic, drama-filled Scorpio. No offense to any of the Scorps out there, but I'm just saying. And I think that Tasha was not. And I think now Tamika wants to paint Tasha in a bad light right along with Kandi. And I think they enjoy seeing her be blamed and put down and bashed all over the internet. And they also did this at the perfect time for her to be releasing her gospel album. She wasn't even doing an R&B album. She was trying to do a gospel album. And they wanted to have all this bad press, in my opinion, around her album. Mind you, the album was actually really good. And I enjoy the song on there called He'll Make a Way. That is the best song on there, and it sounds really, really good sonically. And I feel like the album, a lot of people didn't give it a chance because of this bad press about the money. Now, granted, I'm not excusing any of Latasha's alleged bad behavior or anything that she may or may not have done. I'm not excusing anything. Like I said, I don't think anybody is perfect. I'm speaking about this because I feel like it's a clear agenda from Kandi, who hates Latasha, and her sister, who has resentment towards her. And then, of course, they can team up with a messy, messy, messy producer like Mona Scott Young to paint this narrative of Tasha. And all Kandi wanted was to be vindicated. That's why every single time they were arguing, even on the show finale, when the sisters were arguing, Kandi was sitting back smiling and enjoying it. Go back and watch it. And even after, when Tamika called Tasha's husband Edward Scissorhands or something like that, or Edward Stillahands, something, Kandi loved it. She loved it. And it's like she claims, oh, the sisters, I don't want them to fight, or I don't have anything to do with it. But in reality, she loves that they're arguing. She loves this because now it feels like she has finally been vindicated against Tasha, which to me is, it's really just sad. I also feel like now that Latasha isn't performing with the group anymore, Kandi is happy. And I feel like that's what she wanted all along. I think it's so hilarious how when they first got back together and all the other ladies wanted to do new music, Kandi denied doing the new music, and she requested that they don't use the name Xscape. Even though she doesn't own the name Xscape, they still respected her wishes. They chose to go by Xscape 3, and they did the Xscape 3 project. Kandi was not a part of it. Now, Kandi was not a part of it, obviously, because she wanted to be in control of the music and wanted to control everything. And she actually admitted that in a video, that she knew that she would want to control things musically. Granted, I don't know why Kandi thinks that she is the most musically inclined out of the girls, or like the best out of the girls, because in reality, Kandi cannot write any solo project or do any solo music that is successful. Right after the girls did their Xscape 3 album without Kandi, Kandi released like 2 songs or something like that that ended up flopping. And I know people say, oh, well, she wrote on this song, she wrote on that song. Y'all have to understand, when people write on major songs, sometimes you can be one writer in a group of 20 writers on a song. So her doing No Scrubs, which had multiple writers on it, or her doing the Destiny's Child song or whatever that had multiple writers on it, multiple producers on it, it's like we don't know what you contributed or didn't. But what we do know is that Kandi has not been able to do any of her own successful music. Now, I know what y'all gonna say, oh, well, she did that Fly High song, the gospel song, whatever, Fly High. I think people might have supported it because, like I said, Kandi does have fans that support the fact that she is like business, that she does this and that, and all of her success in certain areas like blinds people to see the truth about her, in my opinion. And so I don't feel like she knows the most musically out of all of them. I think it should have been a collaborative effort, excuse me, but I don't think that she enjoys anything being collaborative, because I think Kandi wants to dictate. Now, as far as her not owning the name Xscape, Latasha and Tameka actually legally own the name Xscape, and so when Tasha asked them not to use the name Xscape, with them just being a trio with Tameka, Tiny, and Kandi, they did not respect her wishes, and they continued to use the name, which to me is so disrespectful. So y'all respected Kandi's wishes, but y'all didn't respect Latasha's. It's just like a double standard between them, and it's clear that there's so much bias against Tasha and more favor towards Kandi. And I don't know why, when in reality neither one of them are innocent. If we're going to be honest, Kandi is not innocent. And so I'll just go ahead and say, I know people are like hating Tasha right now and saying she's just this awful person, and because of that they're trying to act like they support Xscape with just the 3 members. And look at Kandi in the middle. That's what she wanted. She wants to be the leader so bad of everything. She needs to seek therapy, in my opinion, about it. But it's very clear that people are just trying to be biased, saying, oh, Xscape 3 is good, Xscape with just the 3 is good, and da da. Let's be honest, it sounds like they're missing something. Tameka doing Tasha's parts, it's clear as day that Tameka is struggling vocally to do Tasha's parts. I know y'all gonna say, no, she not. She's singing now. Tameka can sing, yes, but she sings her parts better. Tasha's parts are fitted for Tasha's voice. Tameka was struggling to sing Tasha's parts. It sounds like something's missing. It looks like something's missing. Xscape is not Xscape without all 4 members. Even if Kandi was missing, it's not the same. If Tameka was missing, it's not the same. If Tiny's missing, it's not the same. And with Latasha missing, whether y'all love her or hate her, it does not sound the same, and it's not that same it factor. Xscape is better with all 4 members, and that's what's so stupid at the fact that it's all this division. But in reality, they only sound the best, and they only look the best, and they only are at their optimal level when they have all 4 members together. So if it's not going to be all 4 members, then y'all just shouldn't be doing it, because I'm not paying for no ticket to see Candyman and Miss Piggy and Tameka, wide load. Okay, let me not read, people. I'm sorry. But I'm not going just to see them. It has to be all 4. Otherwise, to me, it's a flop. So I feel like this is an agenda. Some of y'all aren't going to agree, but like I said, this is a home for unpopular opinions, and everybody's opinion is different. So make sure y'all go ahead and comment down below what you think about this topic, and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.